Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Backpack Trader training room for Thursday, March the 11th, 2021. Give me a sound check if you would, please, since I had some problems on Tuesday. Looks like I'm going through from my end, but I wanted to be sure. Thank you, Miles. All right, jumping right in. 5-tick crude started off this morning with this trade at 55 seconds after our start time. Got short, went to money management and just beyond target one, stopping out for 1 tick. And that looking for the next trade. We have the long at 907.04. That doesn't go very far. We get a stop and reverse. And that's going to be 60. That's actually going to be 65.19. 65.21 with the stop and reverse adjust and key level that around the 20 down to 19. And we actually stay long on that trade. Hitting 41 for our money management. That means we are in a POQ trade. That's our second money management trade. Unadjusted, we hit the entry, but we didn't hit the adjusted stop and reverse entry at 19. So we have hit money management on the long trade. And stopping out again for 30 for 1 tick. Still 1 tick. So we got 2 ticks on the morning. And that's all we could get. Couldn't get to targets, but didn't get caught up in this back and forth mess. And that looks like where crude is right now. So getting out without getting hurt this morning looks like a successful day. On the 8-tick crude, we have this long at 833. This SMA long is too early and gives us a stop out, but we were not in that trade. So our first trade would be 9 o'clock start. I'm thinking our pound Aussie start. So 9 o'clock start is actually on this bar right here. But we do come back up to the entry, so that's a get in sync. Picking up targets 1 and 2 for 16 and 25, giving us 41 ticks. If you use targets 1 and 2 fixed, or you pick up target 1 or target 2 and a small trailer, depending on how you traded that, but it's one and done, no matter how you traded it. So we don't even care about anything beyond the short. Actually, let's see. We had 51. And we would have been at 39 for our entry. Actually, yeah, the 51 was early. So, yeah, one and done on the short for, as Troy and I typically traded. And the trade plan, the basic trade plan on this session, the targets 1 and 2 fixed. Not trying to take too much on the trailer, giving us 41 ticks. So doing much better, staying out of the noise and getting us done than did the 5 tick. Unleaded gas, 9 o'clock start. That sets up 10 minutes early. Same situation. We get in sync right here on this spike up as it came up. Pick up a money management and a very small partial. Chances are on the short here, that came, looks like, right to our entry was at 2104. The bar came down as low as 2103. That very likely came down too fast to take that trade, and I would have my order at 2102, and that trade would have been avoided if, assuming it did what it looks like it probably did. Otherwise, we would have taken a stop there, and we would have this SMA. Diamond level traders have this SMA trade at 1086 that you're currently in. So looking for money management at 1119 and pushing to new highs at the moment. Up above 210 a gallon for the wholesale price futures. Now, understand this long on my chart. Everything I understand about the strategy tells me that this is actually a bug in the NinjaTrader version. That trade should not be valid because, and let's go ahead and bring that one full screen. Because this green trade is just a type of blue trade, but it just is green because of the trend strength. It was successful, and we've had no new overbought or oversold readings since that successful trade, the close of that successful trade. So that trade should not be valid, and since Kevin didn't call anything on Trade Today, I would say that tells me just as well. He would have called something in here along these bars right in here for a long trade, had that been a valid trade. TradeStation, I suspect, does not show that trade. TradeStation is actually showing a long trade right here. This is the trade that he called at 76. From right there, just hit according to his charts, a 10-tick trade. And I will turn on add-ons for this particular case. Normally we don't use add-ons, but I will turn it on so we can see this trade. On mine, this trade is slightly smaller. So target 2 is not valid on mine, and we just did hit target 3, which is the first actionable target for me, at 89. And so that puts us in positive territory, and also trailing at moves the stop to break even, so we'll be trailing the signal line up now. And there was target 4. On my chart, my chart is, as I say, the trade is slightly smaller on my chart. Well, actually, it didn't quite get there, but I got filled on target 4. Anyway, but that's the trade that we're at. Trade a day is in, and that to me what is the valid trade. So both crude charts are done, and we got a new stop and reverse to short on unleaded. And there we are at money management as well. So this unleaded stop will come to 1043. The entry was 1044 or 1044. Actually, no, the entry would have been 1042, and our stop would come to 1041 at this point because of the stop and reverse adjustment. Target 2 there is 0973. The YM with the long trade just 3 minutes before our start, before market open, so that's not a trade we'll follow. Looking for it, and it was a stop out, so that's fortunately we're not taking in that trade. So looking for it, our first setup on the YM this morning. The Euro Yen taking some heat this morning off of my chart. Entry about 834. Short entry 129.69 and approaching the stop at 129.88, but surviving so far. Stop on the pound Aussie at 79.77. And so far that's still surviving. Pulling back, testing the 200 EMA. And hopefully that support will hold and give us a little bit more room on the upside. And unleaded stopping out for a 1-tick break even again. So 1, 2, 3 trades. We can take 3 more. There's trade number 4. Long, and then now you definitely should be in long at 1034. Money management at 1071 and target 2 at 1098. No, that's not. Yeah, 1098. 2 ticks above the, or 2 ticks below 211. And the YM going pretty much sideways. Thank you, Karam, and thank you, Roger. Good morning to you as well. And the room has grown since we started. Welcome to those who joined me a few minutes late after we got started. 5-tick crude went 2 1-tick break evens for POQ. The 8-tick crude went 1 and done, hitting targets 1 and 2 on its first trade for 41 ticks. And the pound Aussie did hit its stop. So that trade is done, and that is also a 1 and done session. So we're following the euro yen. We're not actually trading that yet. Excuse me. And we're waiting for our first setup on the YM this morning. And unleaded is long on trade number 4. I'm assuming we would have avoided the short stop out with the spike 1 tick beyond the entry, most likely right at coming down. That was just 5 ticks below from the close of the setup bar. So I'm assuming that would not have been tradable, and there would have been an order in at 2103.02, which never triggered until, and would have been canceled as soon as the trade hit the stop. So then we took the long that stopped and reversed. And actually, for those of you not taking the diamond level long, this second break even trade on the short would put you at POQ. If you did take the long here, you're going to be negative and looking for the additional trades. So this is really just, I'm following additional trades for the diamond level, folks. Anybody trading just straight gold level without using that SMA trade is POQ already on unleaded gas. And there is an SMA trade. That's not a bad trade, although I would say it's very likely to come back and test those moving averages, considering we're right at a crossover point. But I will follow this trade. Entry at 337, money management at 321, target 1 at 319. Target 1 is on the 14 tick YM chart, 14 point momentum bar or 14 tick range, depending on your platform. So 32319 and stopping out, unfortunately, on that one for a 24 tick loss, 2 positions would be 48. That wasn't a particularly large trade. So flat again on the YM. Another 20 minutes before our 10 a.m. session on crude. Questions or comments would be appreciated at this point, because I'm having to make stuff to talk about. We haven't got much in the way of charts that are active at this point. Long on unleaded. We're watching the short on the Euro Yen and flat on the YM. Our other 3 charts are complete with POQ sessions. Crude sitting just below the $65 level right now. And the unleaded trade stopping out. So using the SMA trade this morning has been not to our advantage. Yeah, hey. That's always an issue. What I would say, Pam, is just for while you're downloading it, turn off Norton Security, download it, put it where it belongs, because it's the executable for FX Synergy, and if it hasn't knocked FX Center, the original stuff off, then it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I that's what I would suggest, is turn off Norton long enough to download it and put it where it belongs, then turn Norton back on. Now, I'm assuming Norton removes it before you actually put it in the program folder. The other possibility is turn Norton off, and while you've got it off, get it in place. And while you've got Norton off, I'm not familiar with Norton on how to do it, but you should be able to put in an exception for that particular file. So that it doesn't actually test that file going forward, would be the way to handle it. But if you have problems with that, I would say get in touch with Norton support and find out how to do do an exception on a file or restore the file from its uh, removal vault or something like that, and set up an exception. And the YM with with another blue trade. This one long, and the YM got a short. This is a stop and reverse to long. The YM did get another short while we were talking. And if you're not trading those diamond level trades, that was a full stop out for your first trade of the day. If you're trading the diamond level trades, it just hit money management and target one. So that is a, looks like 24 tick winner because of the stop and reverse adjust. The entry was at 91, so our adjusted entry would have been 93. It looks like our stop is at 392 at the moment. Actually, it would be 394 with the stop and reverse adjust. And the euro yen survived and is back down close to its short entry. YM hitting target 2 on that SMA trade. I haven't heard anything, Pam, but you can always touch base with Troy. The other other place I would look is go to the Pecunia Systems site, and where you actually got FX Synergy originally, and contact them and see if they've had any reports of it. Anybody else in the room this morning had that problem? And the YM stop up to 399 now. Unleaded still flat. And the euro yen testing the 50 EMA again. It did actually come down and touch the entry. So if you were trading that and were not in it from the original entry, you would have picked it up here. That is a valid get in sync. Ten minutes till 10. Let's see what the... Okay. That would have been 48 ticks. This one would be 78. So 120, down 126. Target one was 24 ticks, so down 102. For those using the diamond level trades, if you're not using the diamond, actually no, you wouldn't have lost that much. It would be gold level traders would be down 78 on that trade, but it would have gone. I see what the Russell looks like. On the 1.5 point range bar, that was the last thing that Troy had been looking at. Let's see what it did today. Here's our start time. 4-second bar, 33 to 48. Okay, looks like we'd have been in the short and gotten a partial. And we'd have been in this short. Taking a full stop. Is that one too fast? 942. Let's see, 32 to 46. That one probably would have gotten in looking at the spike upward as the upward tail on that bar. Money management. Trailing down. And another partial, probably not positive yet. 2 partials and a full stop out. And another short. $47 to 03. Now 16 seconds. Now, whether or not you'd have had time to get into it when it spiked down like that or not is another question. I would say chances are that's an avoided trade, at least so far. But not now. Well, actually, no. I'd still have put my... It was at 9, spiked down to 6. Four's too big an adjustment. Five is even. Yeah, put it on 5, maybe 4. So still avoided. And the stop. So call that an avoided stop out. SMA long. And that's where it is now. It's in an SMA long for trade number 4. Money management. So that's the Russell today. so far. Oh, by the way, something on unleaded gas. I'm showing the May contract here. I looked at the volume this morning, not expecting to see the May contract with the volume because it's next week is when I would expect it to roll, but the volume for May actually has been split the last couple of days and is about 3-2 today on May. So I switched to trading through the May contract on the charts here. You know, the Russell's still awfully volatile to try to do much with right now. Looks like the YM did hit target 2 on this trade. Or it's actually hit, target 1 is our objective for 26, and we're now, or 24 with the stop and reverse, and our stop is now at 433, up above target 2. Or right around target 2. What was target 2 was 432, so our stop now at 42 ticks. Which leaves us still down 60. Crude volume is still very solidly on April, but unleaded has shifted apparently to May. Good morning, Hidalgo. Welcome to the room. Hope things are well for you in Brazil. Roger, you mentioned are you having a problem with the FX Synergy tool with Microsoft, the Microsoft Defender, I believe it is. YM stop to 453 from an entry at 393. So that's 60 pips or 60 ticks on the trailer. Bring us down to 42. And going to go higher than that. Looks like it's going to go to 457 at the close of this bar. Okay, Roger. Did you download the file with the tool in it and put it in the FX Synergy folder? Then oh, wait a minute. Try right clicking on the pair and see if you get the tool as an option. And if not, then what you need to do is go into, and Troy went through this, I know, in the training, or Troy or Martin 1, you'll need to set the entry tool as the default for when you double click. Because I believe it does default to the prep tool, even with the entry tool there available. I'm having to guess a little bit because I'm not using FX Synergy because my Awanda account is directly I can access directly with NinjaTrader. I got my Awanda account. No, you don't get no audio. Did I lose audio this now, folks? Okay, great, great. Just making sure. Okay, Roger. When you say no, do you mean no? You don't have the entry tool if you right-click the pair as one of the choices? Looks like there's a fair amount of delay this morning. All right, we are in the 10 a.m. mini session for the 8-tick crude, so looking for our first trade there. YM stopped to 468 now. From 93, that's 75 ticks. Still down 27 if it stops out at that, but getting a whole lot closer to break even. Okay, Roger, great. Now, when you answered no, is that you are not getting the tool at all? If you're not getting the entry tool on the drop down menu, then you what's the problem is you haven't downloaded the correct version with the entry tool in it and put it into then you've still got the standard FX Synergy in there. You need to download the file with the tool in it and place it in the FX Synergy folder, because it is the full executable, but you just need to replace the existing one in the folder with the new one. And that the tool will eventually be released to all FX Synergy users, but this is an interim release to Troy's people because that's what it was designed for. So you just have to put it in place manually. And the YM did stop out, it looks like, 479. 86 ticks on the trailer. That leaves us down 16. So still need another trade there. And we have a potential long on crude at 65.27. And that just triggered in. Money management and target one is at 37. And target, so 10 tick target one and a 15 tick target two. Getting in within one tick of money management. You would know by the version number, and I do not remember. I think that's in the training video. The new file has a different version number. Well, but Willie, he's installed Synergy, but the instructions on the site do not on the Synergy site. Yeah, you'll need to go do the installation from the TAD site, because that's the file that has the tool in it. Yeah, that's what you're going to need to do, Roger, is download the one from the TAD site, the V2 from the TAD site, and install that per the instructions there. Sounds like you've got the original FX Synergy file. Or the original FX Synergy executable. And a new short on the YM. That's one I would ask it to test the highs again and come back down through before I jumped in that one, as Troy has mentioned, as Troy mentioned yesterday, because that is a classic reaction move. Yes, that's correct, Roger. The Trade a Day site. It's too that YM trade is too far away from the 20 SMA to adjust, and that's why I say I would wait for it to test at least the balance line, if not the high, before coming down. I would not be at all surprised to see this, even if it doesn't come down to the 20 SMA. I bet the 20 SMA comes up to it and it heads back up at least to the and tests the highs again. All right. Okay, now it's making the move up. It's testing the balance. The YM is testing the balance line, and our crude trade is still working. It has come down and is testing the 20 SMA. Looks like it may bounce off of it. Okay, now at this point, I would adjust around the 20 SMA, take it to 72 on the YM. That's actually on this bar. And it's 70 on the prior bar. So, yeah. What did we spike down to? 71. It's 28 ticks to target one. I don't want to take too big an adjustment here. And there really isn't a good place to adjust. You've got the spike to 71. You've got the 20 SMA sitting at 73, and the entry is at 74. Yeah, the version with the entry tool is not on the Pecunia site yet. It won't be until he does an update to all FX Synergy users. This is just a limited availability tool at this point for Troy's group. So you need make sure you get the correct file from the TAD site, Trade a Day site. If you're not a member of Trade a Day, but are but are using it for the Spotlight FX alert service, send Troy an email and he can get you the login instructions for TAD to get the file. Troy at backpacktrader.com. Obviously, that's with no spaces. And the Euro Yen actually making some progress on its short. Yeah, that's what you need, Roger. That's exactly what you need. That's what I was. That wasn't necessarily for you if you already had it. That was for anybody else that didn't have it yet. All right. For those diamond level unleaded traders, you're in another short, which unfortunately that's in opposition to the long on the 8-tick crude. So at cross purposes there. Somebody's not going to come out of that one well, I don't think. And a potential stop and reverse on the 8-tick crude to short. $65.22. That's a little trade, but such is life. Just 11 ticks to target 2. And that stop and reverse adjustment also takes us below the 20 SMA, which is a good thing. Hopefully the 20 will provide enough support to keep us in the long trade. And that trade has triggered in unadjusted. So at this point, the adjustment is keeping us long. And the YM short has hit money management. Stop is at 468. And we did hit target 1 for another 28 ticks. And that, folks, that brings us to 1 tick positive. And of course, we will get a few ticks on the trailer. That will be POQ on the YM this morning. Had to work for it, but we got there. That's assuming you did use the SMA trade. That was the big winner. And the stop and reverse adjustment kept us in. And we now are at money management and target 1 on the long trade on crude. So that will be a one and done session. And there is definitely a case where the stop and reverse adjustment kept us in the long trade and got us to POQ. With what would have been a full stop out on the short trade. Missing target 2 by 1 tick. So do what you would normally do when you get within 1 tick of a target. whatever your particular trade plan is. And the euro yen is approaching its money management. And the YM did stop out. That is a POQ. No larger than that trade already was initially. You would have had to go to 31. That's 4-tick adjustment. The trade just isn't big enough for that because target 1 was only 10 ticks to begin with. I might have adjusted above this spike back here, taking it to 28. That would have taken your money management to 38. That's a good question, Brett. That was a 2-tick spike above the just prior to when the entry came up. And if given a trade with sufficient size, I definitely would do that. On this one, it's not a big enough trade to really want to do that with. I would certainly have preferred to adjust around it. And of course, the adjustment would have taken us to a key level as well. So we'd have ended up at 65.31. But definitely a good question. And that's one that is one of those, you either hold your nose and take it as is, or if four ticks in that situation is just too big an adjustment to make on that particular trade. 1 tick for the prior pivot wouldn't be a bad adjustment, but 4 is just too much. And money management achieved on the euro yen. Money management and target 1. 12 pips. And target 2 is 129.50. Yeah, well, if I had stayed out, if I were you and had stayed out on that one, when it went down and tested the 20 SMA and you had the 50 and 20 and 50 spreading away from the 200, I'd have taken it on the get in sync coming back up again. Because that did bode pretty well for it. And it ultimately did hit target 2. And your stop now is at 29 on that trade. Obviously, we're not taking the yeah, today is the official rollover for the ES, the YM, the RTY to June, but at least let's take a quick look. The YM I looked at early this morning, but yeah, it's still solid volume solidly on March. And the Russell also solidly on March. Ouch. And a full stop out on another unleaded trade. An unleaded just a little out of sync today. Okay, Brett, you stayed out of the long trade. What did you do with the short trade then? Because if you had stayed out of the long trade, if you weren't in that, it's not a stop and reverse, and you have the entry where it was. Now, a couple of tick adjustment around the 20 would have been prudent, I think, at that point. And that would have kept you out of the short. But I wouldn't. Well, test for yourself in those situations and see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have made that same adjustment even if we hadn't had the stop and reverse adjustment. But see, now you're the problem now. So you actually should be taking this long trade right now. You should be in the long that my chart is showing, because you should have a trade off of the 50 EMA there. That's one of those cases where I would just as soon take the one that I don't like quite as well, but get out of the market a little sooner. Because if you were flat on that one, then this is absolutely a valid trade for you at 65.46. And that one, there's no spikes for you to worry about ahead of it. Okay, so that's going to be a one and done session on Euro Yen. Unleaded, just out of sync this morning. The YM got positive. Fine, after it took a lot of work, but we did get positive there. And strictly on the trade plan, the 8-tick crude got positive, got a one and done on its 10 a.m. session. This would be, Brett, if your rules kept you out of that trade plan, rules kept you out of that first trade, then this would be your trade. At 65.46, looking for 65.61. Looks like 60 or 61. 61 for money management. And 63 for target. And there's money management. Okay. Aha. You have the stop and reverse adjustment turned on, don't you? in the calculator. This is the case where Troy talks about why this is why Troy doesn't use it. And he's because he doesn't want to change. Okay, yeah, because it adjusted the short trade below the 20. But that would have been a manual. He would have made a manual adjustment around there. But the fact that the trade triggered unadjusted, the short trade, and stopped out meant that this would be a valid trade for you because you didn't take the initial long. This is the actual trade sequence produced by the strategy. So you have to be aware of things like that. And sometimes you may need to turn on add-on trades for that reason. Because this would have shown up as an add-on. But yeah, I actually turn it on, the stop and reverse adjustment in the calculator for other reasons. But I'm aware that it will change the trade sequence, and I look for things like that if I'm not already in the particular trade. So you have to be aware for things like that. They're not quite as obvious. But that should have been your POQ trade there. Hitting a nice target one, that would have been a 17 tick trade. And I wouldn't necessarily leave add-ons on all the time, but in a particular situational basis, I'll turn them on knowing that there's a trade that I need. There may be a trade that I would be looking for to get in based on trade sequence, and knowing that my chart with the stop and reverse adjust turned on would have a different sequence. So I'm always looking for places where the sequence would be changed by the stop and reverse adjust, just to be aware of other things going on if I'm not already in a trade. Because there may be a trade that I should be in or that I should take, even though my chart is tracking another trade. Euro yen stop at 129.68 and taking some heat at the moment. All right. And looks like we did hit target 2 on that trade as well. But unfortunately, the add-on only works with the trade off the 50 EMA or the diamond level trades off the 20 or 200, 20 SMA or 200 EMA. Because the calculator won't give you multiple blue or pink trades if it's already in a trade. And that's the not taking the first trade is valid if that's what you consistently do with a spike like that for a trade that's not big enough to adjust around the spike. But you have to be aware of subsequent trades to that. And so if you have things like stop and reverse on and you get a short setup that doesn't actually get hit, but if you've got to look at where the original trade would have been and see that you'll get an add-on the other direction, and that would be a valid trade for you. All right. And the euro yen stopped out, so both forex pairs are one and done. Euro yen not a big winner, but enough. And I haven't looked at what I'm seeing for spreads on that. Yeah, that's not a bad spread. I'm getting a half a pip spread. So that's one you probably would set for an 11 pip money management rather than 12 because you don't need to probably don't need to allow 2 pips for spread on that. Yeah, down as low as 3/10 there. 5/10. And now I am on the lower tier spreads. And that's just based on the relationship between NinjaTrader and Awanda when NinjaTrader was an introducing broker. I've got the best of both worlds. I don't have to pay a commission, and I get the tighter spreads. But unfortunately, that's not available anymore. Okay, and the long trade did stop out. Brett, if I were you, I would say, okay, miss the POQ trade and stand down for the balance of the session, because I would certainly not want to take that short trade there. It might work, but I think that's a risk that's not worth taking at this point. You've already gone up through the session high. You've seen the 20 SMA providing support several times through, at least twice through here, and appears to be doing so again. Because this trade should have been your trade, and that would have been, you would have been POQ, and so you wouldn't be looking for that short. And that's the way I personally I would treat if I miss the POQ trade. I don't. Now it's one thing if it's not tradable, but if I missed it by a mistake, then I don't continue. Then I'm POQ, even if I didn't take the trade. The system is POQ, and so I don't take additional trades because that's not what I tested. All right, then there's another short on unleaded, and that's another one right around the 20 SMA. I'm going to wait for that one. I would wait for that one to test the high session highs, because it sure looks like a reaction move. But that basically about wraps things up. Any other questions this morning? I can't. That's another thing. We can't tell when anybody's typing. So I will wait 3 or 4. If I haven't seen any questions by 10 minutes till 11, I am going to call it a morning. Thank you. A reminder to everybody, too, that I will be dark next week. Troy will be in on Monday and Wednesday, but there will be no room on Tuesday and Thursday next week. And we'll be back to a regular schedule the following week. No more questions. All of our charts are done with the possible and unleaded did stop out again on that short, but this time it set up an SMA trade, an SMA long at 1301, and that is in place. That trade did trigger in, so we would be diamond level traders would be long, which you'd be the ones in this because you would be the ones. Gold level traders would have been POQ, I believe. Yeah, gold on this one. Gold would have been POQ. But just not a good day for the NQ or for the for unleaded gas RB. Watch your volumes tomorrow on the one. Anybody trading the YM or the Russell, make sure that you are trading where the volume is. Today being the official rollover day, I wouldn't be surprised to see volume shift tomorrow. But certainly by next week, certainly next week sometime. All right. I don't see any questions. So I believe I'm going to call it a morning. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon, a good weekend, and Troy will be back Monday with TradeStation. I am of course projecting NinjaTrader 8. You have a good one too, Miles. Don't forget to smash the like button. That does help Troy's channel. And everybody have a good one.